recording, and let me know if you can see my screen. Is the screen visible, guys? Should be. Is it now? Okay. Just to check if everything is there. Yeah, fine. Okay. No issues. So, joins. I'll just give you a simple example. Okay. Let's just say we have a table. Just say we have column A. Let's write A and B. These are the column names. Okay. And think about a table which records every transaction a user does. Let's say, for example, on an e-commerce platform, let's say Flipkart. Okay, so for example, I'm talking about an orders table where we have two columns, and I can have multiple columns, for example. Okay, let's say in this say three columns A, B, C. A is user ID. Again, I'm not writing user ID here, just think about it. The column A has name user ID, the column B has name transaction ID, so I'm just going to write trans ID, and C has value amount. Just a basic table with three columns: user ID, trans ID, and amount. And what is the table name? Orders. So this is your table. Be very attentive here, it's very important. Okay, if I have to ask you, can user ID repeat itself in this table? Think about it for a minute. Can I see multiple rows with the same user ID? If this table orders is supposed to record all transactions happening on the platform, and again, like there are many transactions done by many users, and a user can do multiple transactions, right? You bought shoes yesterday, you bought an Xbox today. Again, you are the same person, the user ID is going to be same. So simple question, can the user ID repeat in this table? Yes. A person with a given user ID, let's say A, UA, or maybe U001, this person can have multiple transactions. Okay, so this U00A person can come into this table multiple times. That's one thing, keep that in mind. Now, I'm saying that transaction ID, let's just say transaction ID is supposed to be unique. I cannot have same transaction ID for different transaction. How do I know which transaction had what value, and if the payment failed, what transaction I have to look into, right? So the transaction ID by design, it is going to be in most of the cases, like where the transaction records are being captured, this is going to be a unique entry. Okay, can amount be unique? Again, if you have any bit of sense, you'll say that okay, amount is not going to be unique. I can have multiple transactions with the same amount. Someone bought a shoe for 100, someone bought a t-shirt for 100, someone bought a bag for 100 rupees, right? So the amount cannot be unique. So I know for sure user ID cannot be unique, amount cannot be unique, and everyone else, yeah, just keep your mic off. And transaction ID can be unique. So any column that is present in the table only once. Okay, so I'll just write it down. Any column value. Okay, I'll just for better readability, any column for which the value exists only once. That means it's a unique thing. Okay, it has a special name. It's called primary key. This is called primary key, and there are other properties of the same. First of all, it cannot repeat. The second, it can't be null. I cannot have a null entry in a column that is specified to be a primary key. Okay, one thing. Now I'll give you another example, and you have to tell me which column is a good candidate for being a primary key? You use Instagram daily, I'm sure of that. You watch reels daily. Again, I'm sure of that. Okay, so let's say I have a table calls sessions. Okay, and I have three columns: user ID, session ID, and duration. Okay, each user is generating a session of a certain duration. You go open your Instagram, okay, you spend 5 minutes doing whatever you want, right? You're watching reels, you're stalking someone, you're doing anything, doesn't matter. You have a user ID assigned to you. That session has a session ID assigned to it, okay, and there is a particular duration of that session. Okay, so I can have again multiple users logging in, generating different sessions of different duration. Question goes to Pramod. Can you tell me which column is a good candidate for being primary key? Pramod, you there? Okay, user ID. Cool. Keep in mind that in session you have multiple users, and each user is potentially generating multiple sessions. You don't use Instagram just once in your life, right? You use it kind of every day. In a single day, as a matter of fact, you use at least 10 times. Okay? Okay, cool. Any other guesses? Nikhil? Session ID can be unique. Good. Okay, we'll see if that's the correct answer. Harshvardhan? Again, I just have a few names here. मेरे को सबका नाम याद नहीं है तो. Session ID. Okay, Harshvardhan, can you explain why session ID should be the primary key and not user ID as Pramod said? Several session ID, right? I can log into Instagram multiple times just in a single day. As a matter of fact, in an hour I can have that app open multiple times, right? So every time I'm going to open Instagram, that session is going to be assigned a session ID, but the user ID is going to be same, right? So user ID will repeat multiple times, but the session ID has to be different. This is very similar to this thing: user ID, transaction ID, and amount. So user ID cannot be primary key. Duration cannot be primary key. Again, the whole requirement is that it should be unique. Duration, multiple users can have same duration, or a single user can have multiple session with the same duration. I hope I am clear with that, guys. Okay, so session ID can be a good candidate, and it has to be the primary key here. Okay, with that being said, let's say I have a table. And I am going to give you the definition of primary and foreign key just the later. But again, I'm not going to show you right now. Okay. First, think on your feet and then go to the definition. Definition से answer नहीं आते. ठीक है? Okay. Let's just say I'll have the same thing: user ID, transaction ID, and amount. We had this orders table. Let's say we have a table called users. Table called users. Um, in this case, I have two columns: just user ID. Sorry for the bad handwriting. And let's say phone number. Phone number. इतना भी गंदा नहीं होना चाहिए. Phone number. Cool. Multiple rows. In this table, what I'm storing is basically user IDs and their corresponding phone number. I can also have a column called first name, F name. Okay, just three columns: user ID, phone number, and F name. Now tell me what column can be a good candidate for a primary key. Again, very simple. Again, the question goes to right of the top of my mind. I can see Nikhil. Sorry, yaar. Yeah, Nikhil, are you there? User ID can be a primary key. And again, in this universe, you can assume that not like a user can have multiple phone numbers, but in this case, just assume that a single user has just one phone number and no two phone number can be associated with just one user, right? I cannot have 9695853322. That is my number assigned to different guys. So every guy has a phone number, and let's just say everyone is just using one SIM. Okay, so user ID can be a unique identifier. Again, that can be primary key. Can we have phone number as the primary key? Phone number can be primary key because again I can enforce the situation where everyone is just having one phone number, right? So in that case, phone number can also be primary key. Can F name, first name be a primary key? No, multiple guys can have the same first name. So right from the start I can say कि यार ये तो नहीं हो सकता. This is a not a good candidate for primary key. Okay, now there is one more thing. I can say that any person, any column that is supposed to be primary key, first of all, it has to be existing on numerals. That means it has to be unique and it can't be null, right? Whenever you are logging into a system, any kind of system, user ID will be there. Otherwise, the system or the company or the institute won't be able to identify this activity or this kind of transaction or this kind of any sort of data is associated with what user. So you can assume that user ID is always going to be there. Okay, and if it is null, that means it cannot be primary key first of all. So let's just say I have these user IDs all filled up. Okay, and in some cases, let's say phone number is not there. किसी ने बोला भाई I don't have a phone number, I don't use phone. Okay, you cannot say anything to that. Okay, so if in that case phone number is null, again that excludes it from the possibility of being a primary key. First of all, it cannot accept null values. So if phone number is null, again phone number cannot be a primary key. In some case, if user ID column is also null somewhere, the value is null, again user ID cannot be enforced as a primary key. So whenever we are writing data to a given system, no, we are going to enforce a schema whether a given column is going to be primary key or not. And if I have given that definition that create this table with user ID as primary key, and if I have given that instruction to the system cannot accept null values for user ID. It is designed that way. So if I've enforced in the schema that user ID is declared as a primary key, you cannot find any null values in the user ID. And if you are seeing any null values in any given column, you can be sure that that column cannot be a primary key. Hope that is making sense to you guys. Okay, so let's just say this guy, this user ID is PK, primary key. Okay, existing only once. So I have all the users, their corresponding user ID, their phone numbers if available, and their first name. And I know for sure that user ID is the primary key. Now coming back to this table. In this case, we know this is the orders and a given user can have multiple transactions. That means in this table, the user ID can be repeated multiple times. Here user ID is not a primary key but a foreign key. Okay, in foreign key you have just one important specification that it can, first of all, it can contain null values. Okay, and second, the key can be repeated or the value can be repeated multiple times. And the third one, whatever is assigned as a foreign key, there has to be a table with the same value as primary key. So I have all the conditions being met here that this user ID, again, I can have a null value. For example, there was a transaction done and because of some error, I could not fetch the user ID. So user ID is going to be null, right? Again, that is fine. But whatever values do I have, that user ID has a corresponding primary key here in the user table. So I hope that is making sense to you guys, and let's go with the definition now. Okay, I'll just do a select. How do I select? Yeah. Look closely. Primary key cannot accept null values, while the foreign key can accept multiple null values. Now this is going to make sense to you guys. Had I shown you earlier, you would have stuck in the definition and then most of the thing would have gotten confusing, right? So this is a lot better, as if like you already know everything, right? So only one primary key in a table. I cannot have multiple primary key in a given table. There has to be just one primary key. And again, you can have more than one foreign key in a table. There is no such constraint how many foreign keys can I have in a given table. But a unique identifier column has to be existing only once. Third one, primary key uniquely identifies a record in a table. And the corresponding thing for foreign key is a foreign key is a field in the table that is primary key in another table, as we saw here. This user ID is foreign key fk, and it is a primary key in a different table called users. So here it has to exist only once, but here it can be repeated multiple times. I hope that is okay. Okay, so if I have to ask you guys just one simple question, okay, let's just say, first of all, I'm not in a book mode, so I'll have to create a book. I'll need some time for that, but before that, just one quick question. Okay, let's just say, again, maybe I'll just go with trans ID, user ID, value. Okay, again, keep in mind, transaction ID is unique identifier. In this table, let's say transaction, it is going to be of primary key. User ID cannot be primary key. Value again cannot be primary key. Right off the bat, without using any tables or any SQL workbench, if I'm going to ask you which user has done the maximum number of transactions, again, and this is going back, like we're talking about group by and stuff, because I want to be on the same page where we know everything that has been taught previously, right? So I want to know which user has done the maximum number of transactions and which user has done the maximum transaction value. So I can have a guy who has just done one transaction, but transaction value was, let's say, 10,000. And then I can have a guy who has done 5 transactions, and each transaction was 10 rupees only. So 5 into 10 is 50 only. And that guy did one transaction of 10,000. Okay, so the guy with maximum number of transactions is different, and the guy with maximum transaction value, aggregated transaction value, is going to be different. Okay, this question is for all, and I want you to be ready with your select to everything from group by everything clause. And if you have pen and paper, or if you're going to use a notepad, do it. But I want your answer ready in the next 2 minutes. I want the user ID with maximum transaction value. I want the user ID with maximum number of transactions. So max number of transactions. Give me the corresponding user ID and maximum transaction value. And again, think about it, a given guy can have multiple transactions. Okay, so the value is not just one value, I'm talking about the total transaction value, max transaction value. Max, you can say this is the total transaction value of all the transactions he has done, and give me the corresponding user ID. Do this in the next 2 minutes, and I'll just open a new book for you guys. Last 1 minute, yeah. I want you to be ready with both the answers. Okay, Vibhor, you there? Do you have the answers? Not now. Okay. Let me just see how many of you know the answer. Just give me a quick hand raise here, everyone. कितने लोगों को आंसर पता है? How many of you know the answer? 1, 2, 3. Again, expected faces here only. This should be very easy. How just 3 guys are only there? Wow. Okay, I'll give you 30 more seconds. Let us see. Pramod, Harshvardhan, Nikhil. The question is very simple, guys. What are you doing here? Maximum number of transactions I have to find, and the highest transaction value I have to find. Dude, this is not acceptable. Just 3 guys. And by the way, I'm going to ask question to those who haven't raised their hands. Nikhil, I know for sure you know the answer, so I'm not going to ask you. Sorry there. Pramod, I guess you have the answer. Harshvardhan again. Shubhankar, do you have the answer? Any, at least one of them? Have you been attending classes?
No, sir. SQL in last two SQLs I have not done. I was not aware.
You're not well. What are you saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was not aware.
Okay, fine, fine. Rahul, do you have the answer?
Yes, yes.
Both of them?
Ah,
You're supposed to raise your hand then. At least I should know, no? That you know the answer. Okay, cool. I'll come.
yeah.
I'll come to you. Nikhil has the answer. Harshvardhan raised his hand. Indu, you there? Hello, am I audible? Okay. Have you been through the last classes videos? At least if you have not attended them all. Okay. So again, have you seen the group by video lecture? Do you have the answer for any of those questions? Okay, fine, fine. No issues there. Rahul, go ahead, yaar. I'm still
Can I
hearing.
repeat the question?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Can I repeat the question?
yeah, yeah,
Hello.
yeah, yeah. Question is there. I hope my screen is visible.
Number of transactions.
Yeah, maximum number of
Yeah.
transaction.
Answer. Select
Mm-hmm.
user ID
Okay.
and max number of transaction ID.
Okay. Let me let
Transaction.
let me just write it. Select user ID, then
Comma
comma.
comma
Mm-hmm.
max
Max
in bracket transaction ID
max transaction ID.
from
Okay. Let's just stop here. Okay. This is going to be wrong. Anyway, skip it. Anyone else? Shubhankar, I guess you were saying. Shubhankar, you have the answer? You said no. Okay, sorry. Forgot about that. Varun,
yes sir.
you have the answer? Varun.
Yes sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, select
Mm-hmm. Or maybe I can just be smart about it. I can. Yeah, use it. Select.
select transit ID
Okay, you starting with transaction ID. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
max comma max
Transaction ID, comma max. If you're going to say user ID, I'm going to kill you.
uh, from
Are you going to leave it like this, trans id max, and then it's going to from
No, no. After
what say? Yeah, yeah, trans id max. What syntax?
syntax.
What? Is the question clear, guys? Maximum number of transaction. First of all, which user has done the maximum number of transaction? Vibhor went to Flipkart 10 times. Okay, he purchased. He did not purchase any item. The number of transaction for Vibhor is going to be 0. Okay, let's say Nikhil went to Flipkart 10 times. Out of that 10 times he purchased something, let's say 5 times. So number of transaction for Nikhil is going to be 5. Similarly, you can say for Pramod, the number of transaction for Pramod was 3. But every transaction is going to be different. How do you find the number of transaction for each user ID? That's one question. And from there you're going to get the answer of which user has the maximum of transactions. Okay, so very simple problem. I'm going to kill all of you. Okay, that's one thing. ये तो done है. ठीक है? Yeah, who is saying?
I think Vibhor will reply.
Did you try? Did you have you tried already?
No, no, no.
Okay, Vibhor, go ahead.
We haven't tried.
बताओ बताओ.
Uh, Select
Mm-hmm.
count transaction
Select count
table
transaction ID. Okay.
from table
Trans ID from table. Okay.
group by
Group by
user ID,
user ID.
uh, order by
Order by
user ID,
user ID. बस रहने दे, हो गया. It's wrong only. But again, you are going the right direction. But again, this is not expected, yaar. He's. Phew, it's difficult. It's difficult with you guys when you're not putting enough effort. Vijay. Yeah. Wanna try?
yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
select user ID,
Okay. Again, whatever you want to say, think of it if you can transform this existing table in some way and make it correct. Okay, so you have select, okay, and you have count,
yes,
blah blah
select
blah.
count transaction ID,
Huh?
order by count
Dude,
transaction ID,
कहाँ से जंगल में से बात कर रहा है क्या भाई? तेरी आवाज ही नहीं आ रही है.
इस टेबल में करेक्शन. हेलो.
Yeah. Go ahead. Select count
Select this
transaction
table,
ID. Yeah. Go ahead.
order by count transaction ID,
Order by count transaction ID. Count trans ID. Okay.
descending,
Descending.
limit 1.
Limit 1. Okay. There is just one thing missing. And this was Vibhor, right? Who is this? Vijay.
Yes,
Vijay, your answer, let me spoil it for everyone. This answer is 90% correct. There's just one missing thing. Can anyone come up and say what is that missing thing? Because I want that corresponding user ID which has the maximum number of transactions.
in
Okay,
select we have to write user ID.
user ID, right? You have to mention this count is corresponding to which user, right? So now again you can give it some alias, right? Like count trans ID as
Maximum.
num, no, num transactions, you can say
Okay.
num transaction. Okay, so each user is going to have a given count of transaction, okay, from a given table. You are grouping by correctly, order by. With this descending limit 1, you're just going to get a single row. Otherwise, suppose I'm not using the limit, I'll get all the transaction account for each of the user, and the first one is going to be the maximum. And if anyone is having any issue कि मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ and nothing is making sense to you, the problem is with you. Why? Because everything has been taught. We are taught. Today I was supposed to start maybe the advanced problems on joints and stuff, right? So something has been taught, maybe some introduction of joints and inner joint, what exactly is that, or maybe some left joint, some basic concept was covered. I'm supposed to build on that and go to some advanced problem solving on joints, but you are stopping me here at group by only. How do you expect to get a job and solve an interview question when someone is asking you problems that is 10 times as difficult as this? No one is going to ask you. Let me be very honest with you guys. No one is going to ask a group by. First of all, let me break it down in very simple terms. No one is going to ask a group by clause. They're going to assume that you already know group by. And using those capabilities, using those competencies, how you're going to solve a business problem. And that is not going to be difficult if you actually know what group by thing is and you actually know what joins are, you know what window functions are. But you are stuck at just group by thing. Multiple resources have been shared and multiple classes have been done, but again you are stuck at just one thing. And I remember teaching you guys group by last week, but again that is not coming to fruit. Anyway, this is fine. Vijay, great work, yeah. Thank you. Pramod, can you go with the second problem? The user ID which has the highest transaction value, and I'm talking about all of the transaction values.
Okay.
Yeah.
Select user ID,
Select user ID.
comma, some value,
Select, sorry, no commas. User ID. Hmm?
some value,
Some value. This is value, it's amount. It's amount here.
yes, amount,
Okay.
from table 1,
From table. We'll just call it just table only. Okay.
group
Mm-hmm.
by user ID,
Group by user ID.
order by some value descending,
Order by.
some amount descending.
Guys, why don't we go with the simple shorthand notation that if user ID some amount as total total value, and I can just go with if I'm doing the group by and order by, I can just call this thing as 1 and this thing as 2. So I can just order by 2. Okay,
Okay.
this is the second column descending. Okay, limit 1. So you can see that again correct only. For every user ID I'm going to sum the amount, right? The sum the amount value, and it is going to give me the corresponding total transaction value corresponding to each user. Okay, and then I'm ordering by this total value because I want the guy with highest transaction value, then that means it has to be descending, and just going to filter out everything and keep the first value. For example, if I have person A user ID, let's say T, I'm just going to add T1, T2, T3, T4, and this is making very simple here. Please listen carefully. T1, T2, T3, T4, T5. Okay, user ID A, B, A, B, C. Okay, amount 10, 5, 2, 10, 15. If I'm talking about maximum number of transactions, okay, in this case, in this case, A guy has 2 transactions, N and 2. B has 5 and 10. So 2 here for A, 2 for B, and C has just 1 transaction. So I'm talking about maximum number of transaction. I can just output maybe A or maybe B. Both are correct. Both have the same number of transactions done. So maximum value for that, either you're going to return A or B, is going to be fine. No problem. Highest transaction value, what I'm going to do, for each user I'm going to sum all of their amounts. So for A is going to be 10 plus 2, 12. So corresponding to A, I have total amount spent is 12. For B, how much do I have here? 10 plus 5 is going to be 15. And for C guy, I have 15. Let's just say for this example, let's not have multiple values. Let's just say the C guy in just one transaction, he did a transaction of 20. So for C, I'm going to have a value of 20. So what I'm going to do here, think about this query. This query is going to, till here, it is going to select user ID, sum, total value from table group by user ID. So first it is going to see this result. Okay, and then it's supposed to do this ordering by the second column, that is this user ID, and this is the total. So it's going to sort this table by this user column in descending order. That means 20 comes first, then comes 15, then comes 12. The first value is going to be, after the sorting, after ordering, is going to be C20, B15, and A12. Is my answer complete? No. I just want the user ID with the highest value of transaction across all transaction. I just want one value, and that's why this limit clause. So limit is going to say here everything else has to be discarded. I just need the first value. So C20 is going to be your answer. And again, this is something you should have like answered, but again, it's 46 minutes in and we are still doing group by. Well done, guys. Really well done. Instead of order by and limit. Now, who is going to answer why we cannot use maximum function? You want to use maximum function, but the data has to.
Use it, but we will have to write a subquery for it.
Exactly. Who is this? I want to know this name.
Harsh.
Harsh. बहुत सही यार. बहुत सही. Okay. So if you want to use maximum function, the data has to be in that suitable format. In this format, the data is not ready for this maximum aggregation function. Now, what you're going to have if you choose to use maximum function? Think about it. यहाँ पे in this table, this is the transaction table, and who came up with this maximum question here? Not the answer, by the way. Who asked if we can use this maximum function or not? Vibhor. Yeah, Vibhor, tell me. If I want to say, like, which guy has the maximum transaction value, I'm talking about all the transactions, right? I'm talking about all the transactions. So if I'm going to use max here, like if I'm saying use select user ID and max of amount. Max of amount, that means I can have a person for which the maximum value is just going to be the maximum across all the guys, like all the transaction. So it is just going to give the user's maximum transaction value, not the total transaction value. I want the maximum of the total. It's a different question. Now think about it. What I want requirement is maximum of all trans, not the maximum trans per user. Now, what is the difference? A user, let's say A has done transaction 10 and 2. I'll do this for B. Very carefully, listen to this, guys. B के लिए we have 5 and 10. If I want what is the maximum transaction value for each user, then I can just use select user ID max of amount. So in that case, what I'm seeking for A, I want 10. For B, again, I want the maximum, that is 10. And for C, we just have one value, 20. But we want the maximum of their total transaction. Okay, which guy has maximum in terms of the total transaction. So first I have to get the total transaction for each user. And then I can do this maximum. So in this case, what I'm going to use, here in this table, this has the aggregated value. This table is a subset of this table. Think about it. It's like a compressed version. In case we have this user ID, where each user ID is going to be existing only once. Here the user ID can be like coming multiple times. Now each user ID has a total value. Now here I can use the max function. Okay, so select user ID, select star, you can just say, or you can use like maximum in the case of what? Total. The maximum has to be total. So select user ID, and then you can calculate a max for this. That means you can just say max of total, and that is going to be 20. And you can select user ID where max value is, and that in that subquery you're going to use the total value. So again, it's going to be a bit complicated, but this is going to be the simplest solution. We are just going to use the limit clause, because the data is not it. Both are different questions entirely, right? I hope it was clear, but again, like if it is not clear, yaar, you are not putting enough attention to the previous videos. Okay, group by, how do I deal with that? How do I make sure that you guys are on the right page? Okay, one more thing. First of all, and this is very, like, I'll say imperative that you do it. Okay, there is a link shared with Mode SQL resources. You have to do all of them, and this is very important, guys. Just go and solve all the problems in the group by clause on Mode website, and this is very important. Once you're done with that, I'm very sure that you're not going to have any kind of issues in the group by thing ki, how do I do this aggregation thing, where do I use this max function, is the data suitable for these kind of aggregation, not where do I have to use subqueries. Everything is there, and again, and if even if you're not able to solve it, do reach out to the mentors and they will be able to help you. Reach out to me ki I don't have any understanding of this topic, I'm having trouble with this and that, I'll be able to help you out. Okay, reach out to the mentors, they are there to help you out. If not, who is going to help you out here? First of all, you have to do your bit, otherwise all of these classes are good for nothing, I'm telling you. Okay, so go have a look at the Mode resource share in the group. Okay, you can just write Mode SQL tutorials and go do everything in the intermediate section where we have this group by thing listed on. Okay, once you're done with that, watch our videos again and it is going to make much more sense. I hope that is clear. Okay, now coming back to the problem uh, that I'm asking here. Okay, max number of transaction, I hope that is clear. Highest transaction value, I hope that is clear. So if I have solved this in class, let's see if my teaching is effective or not. That is also a scenario. So Varun, did you answer the question when I asked you? I guess no, right?
Yes.
Were you able to answer properly?
No.
No, right. Now, in case if you're able to answer, I'll assume that okay, whatever I taught, it made sense. Okay, so the same thing. Highest transaction value, how do I calculate that? Again, sorry guys if this is coming as a bit repetitive, but this is important. Batao yaar. How did I solve this? How any of us solve this highest transaction value problem? Can you repeat the syntax that I just explained in the last slide? If you understood, you should be. If not, you shouldn't be. Simple as that. And you can just give me the logic. How did I come up with the highest transaction value?
Please insert a table of that.
Okay, you want me to input a table? Cool. And this should be a good opportunity to look at the answer. Nice move, I'll say. Yeah, here's the table. And those who don't know the answer yet, this is the right time because the next question can be coming up on any of you. Or maybe I'll give the name कि मैं किससे पूछने वाला हूँ. Vibhor, did you answer it last time?
Yes, sir. I answered last time, but I missed user ID.
Okay, you misused it. Okay, so then you, out of the equation, yeah, you know the answer. Prashant, again, this is the second class. Pramod knows the answer. Nikhil knows the answer. Harshvardhan probably knows the answer. Indu, again, lots and lot of noise are coming at your end. I'm not going to ask you. Shubhankar, you there? भाई हाँ या ना बोल दे कुछ तो. Okay, no problem. Yeah, go ahead यार. जिससे भी पूछ रहा था मैं. बहुत टाइम लगा तो yes or no बोलने में. I'm not going to wait that long. Okay. Yeah, who was there to answer this problem? I forgot the name.
Yes, yes. Varun is there.
Varun, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Sorry, when you confused.
Batao, go ahead, go ahead. I'm going to ask some other guy, and then again, he's also going to be confused. The reason is the whole objective is to get confused, and then next sort it out. Okay, okay. Let's sort it out. बताओ जो भी दिमाग में चल रहा है. How do I find the highest transaction value? And forget about that max approach. Okay, we can do that, but again, that is going to require a subquery. It's going to be easy only, but let's try to find it This way only, the simple way, using the limit clause. Okay, I'll break it down to you guys. Yeah, I cannot believe first of all this I'm doing this. Highest transaction value, and I want to find the corresponding user ID. Let me, sorry, change the problem to find the total transaction value corresponding to each user. Think about it. To know this answer, I need to have a table. Okay, I need to have a data table which has the user ID. Guys, listen, user ID and total transaction value. Here I have the entries on transaction ID level. I want the information on user ID level. So I'll just again write it again here, transaction ID level information. I want the answer in this table to be on user ID. There should be no information regarding transaction. I should have user ID and the corresponding transaction. I should have the user ID corresponding transaction. Okay, go ahead here. The question has been changed for your sake. Okay, it has been made even easier. So I want every user ID and the total transaction value. How do I do that? जल्दी बताओ जल्दी. Move fast, think fast, fail fast, correct fast. Go ahead. I forgot the name. Please don't make me switch tabs here. Yeah.
We have to select the user ID.
Okay. First of all, calm down. This is a very low stake situation. Okay, you are not in an interview. In a class, if you're stammering that much, in an interview you won't utter a single word. So that's for sure. So it's a very low stake situation. You are supposed to make mistakes. Okay, calm down. Okay, bata.
So we have to first of all select the user ID,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can we have to
Aggregate. I'll help you out. We have to aggregate the amount.
yes, we have to aggregate the amount.
Amount. What are we doing here in the aggregation? Are we taking the maximum or taking summation or taking total or taking count? क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं? What I'm doing here in the aggregation?
Count.
Am I doing count? Am I counting the number of transactions, or I'm talking about total transaction value?
Total transaction.
No, like if you're answering the first question, that is also fine. I'm just checking which question you're solving for. Solving for one or two? You're not sure. तू बेटा मिल मेरे को. Okay, we are solving for transaction value. Please don't waste time, yaar. Please.
Sorry, sorry.
I'm solving for total transaction value. So for each user, I have to find the total transaction value. How do I do that? I want this answer. A के लिए I want 12. For B, I want 15. For C, I want 20. How do I get from this to this? Tell me.
We can sum up the values of amount.
Exactly. ठीक है? So let's select. You are going to select user ID, and we are going to sum the amount. Okay.
Yes.
What will be in the group by clause?
So group by clause. Group by amount.
Group by amount. You okay? Tell me one thing, yaar. I just want to know your name again. Varun, have you been attending classes? One simple question.
I have not attended classes.
Have you attended the last class on SQL that I taught? Group by. No. Okay. The next thing or the first thing. Okay. No issues. No issues. The next thing that you're going to do, and also has to be the first thing that you're going to do when it comes to this whole mentorship and program. You're going to watch all of the technical videos, like video lectures of the last classes. Okay, that you have missed. Everything's there on the YouTube channel.
Yes.
Okay, do it positively, yaar, and you will be making progress. Believe me. Okay, thank you. Indu, by any chance, you there? Uh, is it You at home or someplace else? Okay, I'm not able to hear you properly. Am I audible? Again, not audible properly. But yeah, can you try? You need to group by user ID, correct? So can you give me the whole uh, statement, the whole query? Very good. रुक जा रुको 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 धीरे. Select user ID. Sum of transaction ID. You're going to sum transaction ID. Okay, we are answering the second question. First of all, be on that problem that we are solving. We are solving for second one, not the first one. And even for the first one, it is wrong. So let's just say that we are solving for the second problem, highest transaction value. Go ahead, go ahead. Select user ID, sum of what? How do I get from this to this? Hello? Okay, skip it, skip it, skip it. Nikhil, yaar, just answer it and we can move forward. First of all, finally. I need to have a word with few of you guys here after this class. This is not expected. Yeah, I'm asking for the highest transaction value. I hope that is clear. I want to get from this table to this table. Hello? Yeah, yeah. I want to get. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sum the amount from the table. Group by what? Group by what? Okay, that's total. They will be from table. Okay. Group by user ID. Order by total descending. Just you can do limit one. Okay. Phew. Okay, I need to have a word with a few of you guys, especially those who have joined recently. Okay, and I'd like to have a one-on-one session with you, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, just to understand what kind of issues you are facing. Because again, there's no point going forward and talking about advanced stuff, talking about funnel metrics and this and that if you're not able to answer these kind of basic questions. Because in every interview, let me be very specific and very clear and very honest, first of all. In any given interview, before they get to this product metrics classes, product metric questions or behavioral question or any sort of discussion, they are going to ask you SQL questions. Okay, in many interviews, SQL is going to be the first test. Even before you get to the interview, they will be handing out. If the CV is selected, they will be handing out a problem set. Again, it has to be answered on SQL only. That is the first step. That's like starting from 1 to 3, that's the zeroth step. If you're not able to answer that, you're not even going to be considered, no matter how good your communication skills are, no matter how good you are in product analytics, this and that, what kind of experience do you have, doesn't matter. The job is to be able to fetch data from a given database and then come up with analysis, this and that. तुम्हें यार ग्रुप बाय करने नहीं आता, who is going to talk to you? Okay, and again, this is the reason, like, again, that's the whole thing, that why we you are enrolled in this program, right? We're supposed to teach you, you're supposed to learn from us and then excel at that particular job. But I'm not seeing that effort. Okay, so first of all, there could be multiple reasons for that. You joined late, you did not have enough time to go to the previous video, maybe you fell sick. Okay, you were out of town for some reason. All of these can be categorized as capitals excuses. Okay, I have done the same. I know that because I have done the same in many cases. So I just want to know what kind of issues that you are facing, so that you're not able to put that kind of effort that is required to solve these kind of problems in class and be confident enough. Okay, so let me know कि यार किसको किसको बात करना है. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, आई एम नॉट श्योर किससे मेरे को बात करनी चाहिए. right? I can see like 3 or 4 guys, they are doing great. uh, there's no need to speak name for that, but again we can say for sure that Harshvardhan doing great, yeah. Pramod, Nikhil, and there are some guys, again Vibhor, given that you don't have any background, so again you are also doing it, but there are few guys I see you are struggling here and there. So I'd like to have a word with you just to understand what kind of issues you're facing and how we can work on that just to make sure you are on the same page with everyone else, right? Because we want everyone to succeed. ऐसा नहीं है कि किसी बैच में there are just 10 guys and you just want 2 or 3 guys to succeed. No, nothing like that. Okay, so I hope I'm making this very clear. And if any of you would like to have a word, do ping me on WhatsApp. We can schedule a call and maybe you can have a one-on-one talk just to know how things can be changed for good. Okay, I'll leave the ball in your court. Okay, I'm not going to ask या शुभांकर तू पिंक कर, राहुल तू पिंक कर, निखिल तू पिंक कर. ठीक है, it's up to you, right? You're going to choose whether you want to have that session or not, or that particular conversation or not, because job तुझे लगवानी है, मुझे नहीं लगवानी, सीधी सी बात है. Okay, I'm here to help you out, but again that willingness has to be there. So instead of a proper joint class, this turned out to be kind of, I'll say, nothing short of, again, just to be honest, it's a bit disappointing. But yeah, let's see how we can change things. How we can change things in the next class and be a little more positive towards this whole preparation outlook, right? Just make sure that. Okay, I guess there is nothing else. Before we move on to the next topics, I want you, all of you, to be like firmly footed in this group by thing. Then only I'm going to start this left join, right join, whatever join, and then we are talking about window function, because this is the last leg of SQL. For product analytics, almost 80 to 90% thing has been done. The next phase is going to be using both product and SQL capabilities at once. तुम ये तो बता दोगे, you will be able to answer what monthly active users is, or how to do fun analysis, this and that, but how do you actually do that with the database? If I give you the data and if I ask you that find me which channel, marketing channel, is bringing the best ROI, okay, this is a very simple statement. Listen very carefully. I'm asking you to find me the best channel which has the best ROI. The thing is that in product analytics sense, first if you're going to define what is ROI here, okay, ROI is like maybe the sales divided by the cost, or maybe the profit generated divided by the cost. Okay, that's one thing. How do you calculate that from the data? Do you think this is going to be very easy, as simple as the question seems like? It's a one simple line, one line question: find me the channel with the best ROI. But the table could be multiple. It could be like 3 or 4 different tables where you have to get the data from. Talking about joins, you're talking about window function, you're talking about group by at the very basic level. You're struggling at the very basic level, how you're going to get to the top of your answer and how you're going to answer the final question. It's going to be very difficult. So let's just first sort our Achilles heels, right? जो वहाँ पे main issue है तुम्हारा. I see it's group by, and most of you are having trouble like where to appropriately use that kind of syntax. Okay, so let me know in the chat, okay, how I can be, or maybe this whole system can be more helpful for you, especially those who are having trouble with these kind of things. Okay, and I'll make sure that thing happens. Okay. Okay, so let's just end this class today on this note only. And I'll be sharing a few things in the group. Please go through that and make sure everything is done by the next class. Okay, and then all only like it's going to be finalized when the next class is going to be, based on your response, based on what you are submitting. Okay, so take that on a positive note, and I'll see you guys in the next class. Chalo, thank you. Bye bye.